Hi, I'm Bonnie Compton, child and adolescent therapist and parent coach, and I want to welcome you to Parenting with Courage. My intention in creating this video series is to inspire and empower you to become the parent you want to be, calm and confident parent, which is also the parent that your child needs you to be. So I'm excited today. We're talking about challenging children. You may have one or two of those of your own. And although we're going to talk about what you're seeing, we're really going to be talking about what your kids are feeling inside, what's going on inside their body. And so today I want to welcome Dr. Angela Dixon. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Angela is a pediatric and prenatal focused chiropractor who has dedicated her career to making families healthier and happy right here in the Low Country in Charleston, South Carolina. She has completed hundreds of hours of pediatric-specific education above and beyond her degrees. Angela helps parents better understand what is happening inside their child's body so that they can be empowered to make better choices and decisions for their children and family. Welcome, Angela. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm excited to be talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So this has been my experience as a child and adolescent therapist, parent coach, and I was a pediatric nurse practitioner before that. So for many, many years, I've worked with families and who have challenging children. And I'm a mom of 4 adult kids and a grandmother of almost 4 granddaughters. And yeah, I know what the challenges are like also. And we tend to focus on our kids' behavior. But I tell parents that behavior is not random. It happens for a reason, and there's often underlying issues. So I would love to hear your perspective of what you think might be going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see this all the time in our office. Parents come in and they're really frustrated with their kids' behavior, with the reports they're getting back from school, just a lot of stuff going on with their kid. And they tell me all the time, I know I have a great kid, just seems like they can't get out all the time. Like they're stuck in there. There's something holding them back. Mm-hmm. And this is where we get the opportunity to come in and we use advanced testing to look at the nervous system and see what really is going on inside their child's body. So for example, a child with ADHD or hyperactivity, often they have too much information being sent from the brain to the body. So this is like someone shouting inside your brain all day, every day. And that's why it looks like these kids have a hard time focusing. They're always moving around because they have constant noise going on inside their brain. So as a parent, you probably get really frustrated with their lack of ability to focus, calm, do their homework, sit down at school and behave. But really on the inside, they're really suffering and they're really struggling because they have this volume turned up way too high in their head and they can't focus. They can't settle down.
You know, Angela, parents often kind of this myth, and teachers believe they can't focus, they can focus. And I tell them they can focus. They just have too many things to focus on, right? They're being bombarded. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And another thing we see with kids like this is that a lot of times it's not just one thing. So we focus on and talk about the nervous system, but a lot of times they are behind with their development and we need this combined approach. So sometimes the kid needs help understanding why they're a little bit different than the other kids. And that's where someone like you comes in and helps the family understand how to better help that child, create the right environment for that child. With my sensory kiddos, they might need some occupational therapy. So it's really this combined approach of getting the child all of the support that they need to help them get over the hurdles and get back to that awesome child you know is hiding in there but is a little stuck.
Right, and it's not about trying to control their child's behavior. It's really, as I tell parents, about helping them fit in their world a bit better, right?
Yes.
Because kids are also aware they're struggling. They know that inside, right? Yeah. Okay. So when you talk about the nervous system, can you talk a little bit more about that in terms of what's going on in the nervous system?
Yeah, so the nervous system is actually the master controller of your body. So your brain and your spinal cord send your nerves out and they tell every cell in your body what to do all day. So tell you to digest, to breathe, to make new cells, to fight that bacteria that you just ran into. So it's really an important system. And we find that when the nervous system, the master controller, is out to lunch, they're not doing their job right, all of these other systems start showing symptoms. So we see a lot of kids that are sick all the time, have hormonal imbalance, a ton of digestive issues. And when those systems don't work right, they show us symptoms to let us know something is wrong. So that might show up as bowel or bladder dysfunction. That might show up as hyperactivity. Maybe they have food sensitivities. They're that kid that gets sick and then is sick for a month straight. So those symptoms are our body's way of letting us know, hey, something is wrong. And we like to trace it back to the cause, which is a lot of times that nervous system not doing its job. It's out to lunch. It's not helping the body the way it's supposed to.
So you and I did a workshop together, co-facilitated a workshop, and I was fascinated. And although I have all of this nursing training, et cetera, medical knowledge, through your training, you were learning, you're taking a look back at birth, even what you'll call the normal birth, where everything is fine. And then how that sets up this cascade of problems. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I talk to parents of kids at really any age, I want to talk about what was your pregnancy like? Because when you're pregnant, you're sharing those thoughts and emotions. You're sharing a nervous system with that baby. So if you were stressed out, nervous, anxious, a lot of stuff going on, that baby is really getting set up in that state too, that stressed out state.
And if I can just add to this, because we don't want to add to mama's guilt.
Yes.
For no fault of your own, mama, okay? I want you to hear this loud and clear. So, okay, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And then we get into these birth scenarios where we intervene a lot during birth right now. So it's really, really rare for me to have a case that I go through where they didn't have an induction, an epidural, episiotomy, pain medication, Pitocin. We really interfere with that normal birth process, and sometimes we need it. Like Bonnie mentioned, it's no fault of mom's. Sometimes your labor gets stalled out and you need those things to help push you along. But all of those interfere with that normal process. Then when baby does start coming, we really like to help them out. So there's a lot of vacuum extractions, forceps extractions, pulling and twisting on the baby. And especially with a C-section where it's now, as soon as we open the sac, we got to get them out right away. So whatever we can grab, we grab and pull them out. Think about the physical trauma that happens to your baby in those scenarios. Mm-hmm. So it really sets up this, maybe we had a stressful pregnancy, maybe we didn't, but then if we have this stressful intervened with birth, now we're putting that kiddo in that stress state and causing some of that interference in their body. And then if that doesn't get fixed, they just carry it through their whole life with them.
So is there really an imbalance in the nervous system? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yeah. So when we look at the nervous system, we look at two sides. We look at the sympathetic side, which is your gas pedal, your go, 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 survive, run from a bear. This is your stress side. Then we have your parasympathetic side, which is your brake pedal. It's your rest and digest, heal, grow, develop, thrive side. So we need these two sides balanced. Sometimes we need to survive a stressful situation and get through, but then we need to be able to shut it off and heal from the damage that was caused there. So when we imbalance that nervous system, when we get the stress stuck on, then we're not healing, we're not developing, we're not growing, and we're always in this stress state. We see everything as a danger, everything is a foe. And so if we can't rebalance that nervous system, the body's going to keep giving you symptom after symptom after symptom to let you know, I'm not healthy. Something is not right inside me.
Which is happening in adults in this very stressful world right now. Go, 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 go. Yeah, same.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, getting stuck. So, okay, go ahead. So what do you actually do? Well, you talked about the test.
Yeah.
You scan the nervous system, right? It's not an invasive test.
Yes. Yeah, non-invasive, so no radiation. We don't put anything in the body, don't take anything out. We're using the surface of your skin to get a peek underneath and see what really is happening inside that nervous system. So we pair the test together with your goals. We're very goal-driven. We want to know where you want to go. And we use your goals in the test and our exam findings together to put together a plan to help you get to those goals. And sometimes that plan might involve outside therapies like counseling or occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy for a lot of our kids. And then we do adjusting here in the office. So we use our hands, our tables. We also have instruments that we use. Every case gets a little different approach because everyone is so different. So
I could just say something
yeah.
real quick, because I know when I talk to parents about chiropractors, and I had this fear myself, no one is going to adjust my child or crack their back or anything, right?
Yes.
And I've actually been to you several times, and it is very gentle. And so, yeah, and I want to get to the kids that you've had, some of the kids that you've helped. But I can say, just being in your office and seeing kids come and go and smiling, it's just a very gentle approach you have. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and kids love it here. Once they get that first adjustment and they get over the scary factor of I don't know what's going to happen, kids cry because they don't want to leave our office. They love coming here, love coming to see us, because innately kids have this ability to know this is helping me. This person is helping me. They're making me feel better, and they love that. And if you think about adjusting a newborn, if you would use your hand to check the ripeness of a tomato, that's how much pressure I use when I adjust a newborn.
So very gentle.
Yes, very, very gentle. And then as kids grow, the force that we use grows with them. But like Bonnie said, very gentle, very easy adjustments. It's not this big, crazy adjustment like you see on YouTube. I'm not doing that.
Right. So what's going on in your office? How are you helping kids? And maybe you could talk about, without giving their names, some of the kids that you've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one case right now who I just love him. He came into us when he was 5, and he's mild on the autism spectrum. And his biggest problem was he was being sent home from school 3 to 4 times a week. So have to leave her job, come and pick up her child from school. And he sent home because he was aggressive towards other kids. He was biting, hitting, being very disruptive. He really wasn't fitting in his world well. And so that was the tipping point for the mom. She's thinking, I'm going to have to quit my job and homeschool this child because I can't leave my job 4 times a week and go get him.
Sure. Yeah.
So what it ended up being with him was it was a communication issue. He couldn't make connections within his body well enough to communicate why he was upset. So he would get upset about something and he would act out by being aggressive because he had no other way to tell the world, hey, something's wrong and I'm upset.
He didn't have the coping skills, right?
Yes. Wow. Yes, ma'am. Yep. So when we were able to, he's also in speech therapy and occupational therapy. They paired us in with those other therapies, and we were able to help him get reconnected. So if you think about the pathways between your brain and your body as highways, his highways were dirt, 1 lane, potholes all over the place. It was just really hard for information to get back and forth between his brain and his body. When it did get there, it was really jumbled because it's been shaken up on the way. So being able to put some pavement down on those highways and allowing the communication to go freely, he started speaking in full sentences. This was a huge turnaround for the parents because now the child not only is calmer, but they have this ability to communicate, which made a huge difference in their life. So when they got upset, they could say, I'm upset because you took my toy, instead of fighting the person.
Right.
Yes. And so that was just, there was so many other things that changed for him too, but that was the biggest change. Now he can stay in school. He hasn't been sent home from school at all since the beginning of the year, since the first of the year, because he's able to communicate and he's able to fit in that world better. Yes, like you said, coping skills to get through.
Right. And I just have to tell you, I have goosebumps right now listening to this story because I have seen so many kids. I don't specialize in autism, but I have seen kids with ADHD, with anxiety. As I tell parents, I don't care what the diagnosis is. Yes, it helps and it helps explain, but how can we help your child?
Yes.
And so I've heard many of these stories from many parents, and to see what this child is capable of doing. I know the joy that I get in the work that I do, which is different. I believe our work is complementary. and it takes a village to raise children.
Yeah.
So I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing. So anyone else any other story you'd like to share?
Yeah, and I think playing off of something you just said, you were talking about kids getting stuck.
Right.
And with their therapies. And there's another little girl right now who she's the perfect example of getting stuck. So she was 2 when she first came to see me, and she was walking on her toes. She had a lot of sensory processing issues where she the texture of foods, wet clothing, certain textures of clothing, and she would just scream all day, every day. Couldn't communicate very well, so she would just scream constantly. She was constantly uncomfortable in her world. So she was doing speech therapy, occupational therapy. They tried physical therapy, and physical therapy had said, we got her to 50% toe walking, flat walking, and this is all the further we can get her. She was just stuck where she was with therapies. And that's when the parents decided to come and visit us and really helping her, again, pave those super highways and helping her get unstuck, get over that hurdle that was keeping her from moving forward, made all of her other therapies just take off like crazy. This little girl is, I want to say about 80%, maybe 90% flat walking now, which is a really big change for that family. And she started, her speech therapy is really taken off. Again, starting to communicate, able to tell you what's going on. But a big thing is she stopped the constant screaming. So she does have what they call squawking episodes every now and then. But being able to get her calmed down and get her over that stuck point was what she needed to move forward. And it's really amazing because I know the rest of her life is going to be different because she was able to get past this hurdle early and have all of this support so that she can go on with that normal developmental state. She's a twin. And mom keeps telling me she's catching up with her twin and all of her development. And that's huge because she's been behind pretty much since birth.
Wow. That's just beautiful. It really is. Can you just talk just for a moment about toe walking? Because a lot of kids are doing this. What's going on in their body when they're toe walking?
Yeah, so we see this a lot with sensory processing kids where they're just so overwhelmed in the world that they're in, it doesn't make sense. So when I talked about ADHD kids, I talk about overwhelm. When I talk about sensory processing kids, it's disconnect or disorder. So when the information is coming from their brain to the body, it's getting so jumbled along the way that their world literally looks different to them than us. Again, they're stuck on that sympathetic side, that gas pedal side, so everything looks dangerous to them. And so as part of this whole process of sensory processing, a lot of them will go up on the toes when they walk as an overwhelm type of activity. So when they're overwhelmed, that's one of their coping mechanisms. They hop up on those toes and use that when they're walking. So for example, the little girl I was just talking about, the only time I see toe walking anywhere in my office is if she feels overwhelmed. She doesn't get the toy she wants, or she doesn't want to leave and she has to leave, things like that. Then when she gets overwhelmed with the system and her body can't process right, then she'll pop back up on those toes. So it's really a symptom of that overwhelmed nervous system, and that's one of the symptoms that come out of it.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So we just have a few minutes left. What are some other ways that you help both kids and adults? Because you see adults, parents also.
We do.
And what are some other things you're helping them with?
Yeah, so with adults, it looks a lot different than when we get with our kiddos. A lot of adults, a lot of moms come in with things like adrenal fatigue, difficulty sleeping, they're really overwhelmed trying to raise their kids and trying to be a great mom. We have a lot of dads wander in with a lot of pain. They really like to abuse their bodies. And the dads just say, I want to be able to keep up with my kids. I want to be healthy enough that I can keep up with them all the way through. So that the goals are a lot different with parents than in kids. But again, it's working with that nervous system to find out where is your dysfunction? Why are you having the symptoms? Go back. Let's fix that cause so you can have that constant change in your life. And the way that we work in the office is we really want to help you be able to adapt to your world better and have long-term change so you don't need us all of the time. And I think that's one of the really big myths with chiropractors. Once you go, you always have to go.
It's the same thing with therapists. People think,
yes.
oh, I want to get out of there, which, yeah.
Yeah, so we really make our care plans where we have big change and we help your nervous system so that you can adapt better to the world, so you don't need us all the time for the rest of your life. It's the same for kids and adults. We want you to be able to have that ability to adapt, overcome, and be able to deal with your life without getting overwhelmed and overly stressed all of the time.
So it's also helpful for things like allergies, things going on in your gut, stomach upset, that sort of thing, right? Not just stressed out parenting.
Yes. Yeah, so like I mentioned at the beginning, that nervous system controls everything.
Right.
So if you have an imbalanced nervous system, your gut's affected, your respiratory system's affected, and your immune system, that's a huge one, especially with asthma and allergies. This time of year, we see a ton of people suffering with that. It's actually normally an imbalanced immune system due to that imbalance in your nervous system that causes that overreaction to things that are going to hurt you, like an allergen or pollens in the air. And so when we can help balance out that immune system, it makes such a big difference for helping to calm down again and helping reduce those symptoms for people who suffer with things like that.
Okay, perfect. Well, if parents want to reach out to you, you're here in Charleston, South Carolina, but if they're not in this area and they want to learn more about what you're doing and where they can find it in their area, and also for parents here in Charleston, how can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way, if you want to read more about us, about our office in pediatric chiropractic, is head to newhopesc.com. That's our website, and we have a lot of information on there and lots of different ways to get connected with us. If you're not in the greater Charleston area and you wonder, is there somebody with this pediatric training near me? Head to thenwf.org and click Find a Provider. This will have you put in your zip code, and it'll bring up all of the pediatric trained chiropractors in your area and let you know who's closest to you so that you can get the help that your child deserves.
Okay. Thank you again, Angela. I so appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Bonnie.
I'm Bonnie Compton. I want to thank you so much for being here today. And until next time, may we all continue to parent with courage. If you'd like to learn more about my work, you can visit my website, www.bonniecompton.com. Take care.